No, I'm going to explain to you real quick.
Continue walking.
But don't be rolling out. There's a reason for it.
So I did get that right. Yeah, you got it right.
All right, Kiana, I kind of like your topics. Obviously, I have two daughters, a 23-year-old daughter that works at Amazon and a 16-year-old daughter. And boy, do I try to empower them. I think from the day they were born, I'm like, you're going to Harvard. You're not going to have a baby till you're married. You're not going to have a baby till you're out of college. Don't get married to that. But I see a lot more people, a lot more women, a lot more powerful women helping other women. Thought maybe you could talk to us about Invest Diva and maybe kind of walk the audience through what you do at Invest Diva. And then I wanted to get to a topic. My daughter taught herself Japanese at 8. She loves Japan. She loves the culture. And I know you spent some time there. I was looking through your resume thinking to myself, wow, not only that, you're from Iran, which I grew up with Adam Tagavi, and I have a lot of friends that are Persian. And so I don't know that we're going to squeeze everything in 40 minutes, but can you tell us about Invest Diva a little bit?
Absolutely. So our goal with Invest Diva is actually to help 1 million moms take control of their financial future by the year 2025. And the reason for that is because that is so funny that you mentioned with your daughter is that you kind of set their life. And that's what my dad did for me as well. And it's like, okay, I'm an engineer. You're going to become an engineer and you're not going to get married. You're not going to have babies. And all the traditional rules definitely did apply to me. And the one thing that was missing from our conversations in our household was money. And guess what? You need money in life and you need to have financial literacy. So I don't know about you, but that was something that I learned a lot later in life. And I think it's crucial that parents have these conversations and start the financial literacy education for their kids and for themselves early on, because our whole lives just is revolving around money, whether you like it or not. And the more literate you are about it, the better off you're going to be and the faster you're going to achieve retirement. So that's what Invest Diva does. We help people build generational wealth.
If I were traditional with some of my friends that are Persian, I would say to you, did you marry a Persian or did you not?
What do you think? Do you think I could be able to do what I do marrying a Persian? No, I didn't. I went completely out of the tradition. I broke my parents' heart. I married an Aussie, and
I would have bet any amount of money on it. I grew up with a bunch of Persian friends. One of my lawyers, Rosh Shardel, is Persian, and I can assure you that you are not married to a Persian.
I'm in hot water. I'm definitely the black sheep of the family. So the thing is, I'm also Jewish. So the expectation for me was to marry a Persian Jew, and I ran away the other direction. And
yeah, I was gonna get to you being Jewish and Persian and like all the cultural issues there about what you do. But I think it's empowering too. You're beautiful. You're smart. You're a mom. You're a wife. You have a business, and you're teaching people. So how do they get? Is investdiva.com where they go, or where do they go to find out about your business?
So the best offer that we have is a super popular free masterclass. It's 90 minutes. And you go to investdiva.com/masterclass. So investdiva.com/masterclass. And there is literally where I spell out exactly the steps that you need to take as a mom, as a busy parent, as an entrepreneur, as an aunt, as anybody who feels like, you know what, these money managers are kind of screwing me over. The media is freaking me out. I don't know where my money is going to be. The wars are kind of breaking out everywhere. What should I do to make my money work for me, to protect my assets, to ensure my kids are going to have money, I'm going to have money in my retirement? That is where I explain my exact process, and I give a bunch of goodies as well, just so that you can get started the right way with confidence, because that is what's typically lacking when people embark on this journey of financial freedom.
So since you have electrical engineering degrees and you studied quantum physics, I assume that everybody who takes your class has to have a degree in engineering or physics?
Oh, if you're not a PhD, you can. Nah. So here's the thing. So I told you how my dad kind of said, okay, you're becoming an engineer is like a no-brainer. So here's the dirty little secret. I'm actually not good at math. Like I struggled through my school. And to top that off, I actually had to study it in Japanese. So I went to electrical engineering school in Japan. And I didn't understand anything, like a thing. If you ask me anything about quantum physics, electrical engineering, I barely survived. But that, like my money journey kind of began back in 2008. The markets crashed. I accidentally made some $10,000 when like banks were going bankrupt. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And that's when I was like, I'm never going to make $10,000 being an engineer. I'm going into finance. So that's how I ended up actually switching majors and going there. And to answer your question, really, is to my surprise, throughout all these years, over and over again, I try to find one aspect of investing that needs you to be a math whiz. There is none. There is no reason for you to know any level of math above second grade math in order to succeed as an investor. The markets aren't about math. The markets are about emotions, psychology, nothing about math.
You like being a professor?
I like the status. It was more of a social proof. No, so
you like
I
you
love
like to
teaching.
flex.
I'm
You like
just
to
a
flex.
teacher. It's a flex. Like coming out like when the trolls troll me on TikTok or something. Oh, you're dancing. Do you think I'm going to take you seriously? I'm like, oh, I'm actually a professor. But I love teaching. Really, it comes down to that I'm just a very highly paid teacher, if you want to know what my real title is. And professing is one form of being a teacher.
This is the part that I thought was astonishing because you're a mom, you are a wife. That means you're also a daughter and all the things in teaching people. You wrote 6 books. Did I get that right? You wrote 6 books. Is that possible?
That's actually 2 more books are coming out this year. This year is crazy. So soon to be 8 books.
What's your favorite? Because I when I read this Crypto Investing for Dummies 2019, I thought of a bunch of people that work with me being dumb about cryptocurrency. Not that they're dumb in general, but that they need this book. And then I found out that I got to be careful because he watches this. I found out that someone high up in the company actually bought this book and said, this is how I'm going to learn about crypto. So I'm curious as to like, what was your favorite book?
So I have 2 favorite books among all my books. Cryptocurrency Investing for Dummies is one of them. And the second favorite is the one that just came out. That one is the Wall Street Journal bestseller, is $1 Million Family Secrets. 2 completely different books, but they kind of attack different aspects of wealth creation.
$1 Million Family Secrets, Make Your Money Work for You to Create Generational Wealth, which, by the way, is something near and dear to my heart. I grew up in HUD housing, poor, was adopted at 13 by my dad. My mom was a single mom her whole life. Had 2 kids. I got adopted by him as she married him. He was really a middle-class guy, making him like $30,000 a year as a roofer. But back then in 1983, that was decent money. I think combined, they never made more than $75,000 combined salaries. When he retired as a roofer, he had like $100,000 in an annuity but then a pension, and that pension paid him $70,000 a year, which is the most interesting thing to me. And it speaks to what I try to tell people all the time, which is there's only 3 ways to make money: leverage time, leverage people, or leverage money, or do some combination of all 3. And then I see you leveraging books, and you're a professor, and I'm trying to create generational wealth for my kids. I did not want them to have any student debt. Now, we don't all have this luxury of doing what I'm trying to do. Can we talk about generational wealth and your thoughts behind it?
Absolutely. So I love how you said that you were talking about leveraging different things, leveraging money, time, and people. And that really is the essence that a lot of people and a lot of gurus out there don't really talk about. Like if you talk to an options trader, they'll go, oh, money is only in options. If you talked about like a Bitcoin enthusiast, they're like, oh, money, Bitcoin to the moon, Dogecoin, buy Dogecoin. If you talk to an entrepreneur, they're going to say, oh, money is only in entrepreneurship. But throughout my own hardships of going from like literally zero, because I did get fired from my job, and I did have a falling out with my family for obvious reasons, and I had to like literally sleep at friends' couches who were on welfare. And going from there to now millions and millions of dollars in my portfolio was only possible by creating a wealth ecosystem. That's what I call it. It's a wealth ecosystem. And it actually doesn't include just investing, and it's not just books. It's not just influence. It's not just entrepreneurship. It's in fact a combination of them all. And the problem that we see nowadays, that people want to become TikTok famous. And we see all these influencers with millions of followers who are broke. People want to become day traders and make like Bitcoin millionaires. And we see all these traders who are broke. People who want to start a business, we see all these entrepreneurs who even create or generate $1 million in their business, but have filed for bankruptcy. Why? Because they didn't have a wealth ecosystem. It's the ecosystem as the whole that can then go on and create generational wealth, not just one element of it.
Yeah, I think you and I are going to get along for sure. I definitely want to make these books available. I love this kind of stuff that you're trying to do, especially targeting women, because I guess I talk to so many women who ask me all the time about how they can invest, and I think to myself, I had another guest on, and she's pretty well known, and she does the same thing. She tries to educate women directly, kind of empower them, but for some reason, I think women are taught, maybe it's probably, I don't know if it's still the case. I don't teach that to my daughters, but some women grew up being taught that money wasn't their thing, or you shouldn't, I don't know how to explain that, but because I'm not that guy who doesn't want women to be empowered. And in fact, some of the most powerful women I know when I was at Prudential and Dean Witter did very successful as brokers and traders, yet it was really hard to recruit them. And I was reading your bio and thinking to myself, I'm going to read you part of it just to see how astonishing this is. You know, when you say you run the Invest Diva movement, offer timely financial advice, you're a mother and a wife. Being a wife to a guy, it seems like such a pain in the ass. And I mean that sincerely. Like, most guys are like having another child, right? You have to take care of them. And I know you're not going to come on your husband. That's not my intention here. But I just think that women have so much pressure on them, and a vast majority of them don't want to have to deal with it. Or do you think that that's changing? Because I still have a mom who's 70 years old who comes to me for advice. I'm like, Mom, you've been doing this for 70 years. And she still kind of makes some of the same mistakes. She's a great person. But I think there's an intimidation factor. She probably grew up being told, you know, Warren Buffett talks about his two sisters being told that they wouldn't be in the investment community, they'd be at home. And he said they're a product of what they were taught. I wonder if you think it's different now.
I certainly think that there is a cultural component to this, because, you know, marriage back in the day was a financial agreement, basically. And women were like taught that you're going to get married to a guy and he's going to take care of you financially. We're kind of the property of your father, and they would be passed on to the guy. And back in the day where money was like really built in, like going and killing an animal and bringing it in, it was different times, but that kind of culture has been indoctrinated in us. That, and then another thing though, that I do want to mention. So having grown up in Iran, there are a lot of issues with Iran, but gender inequality, astonishingly, isn't one of them. Really? So I mentioned that my dad kind of pushed me to become an engineer. It wasn't because he was like such a female empowerment person. It's because being an engineer was like literally as natural for a girl to do to becoming a dancer or a singer or a fashion designer. So in Iran, this is interesting that like we don't have this like, oh, blue is for boys and pink is for girls and engineering is for boys and fashion is for girls, which is the reason why I was like, okay, I suck at many things. Let me just go and try this engineering thing out. 50% of engineering school students in Iran are girls.
Wow.
And then it was such a huge awakening for me when I went to Japan and I was the only girl in my class. Then I came to New York, I was the only girl on the team. And of course that became intimidating. Of course I didn't like, you feel like there is nobody else that can relate to you. And it kind of is like the gift that keeps on giving, because there are no more women want to come in. And then where do you get started? So there is an intimidation component. There is a cultural component that like I remember vividly somebody telling me, "Oh, you want to go to finance?" But like that's not sexy for a girl.
So, yeah, I love that I guess neutral attitude in Iran. The interesting part about Iran is that all the Persians I know that are from there are so educated. They're so smart. They're so brilliant. A lot of them are beautiful like yourself. Like, I don't know what's in the water back there. I don't know that I've ever met a non-pretty Asian, a Persian girl. When I grew up with my friend Adam, it just was incredible. Like, but he tells me it's a strange dichotomy that there's the way Iran is now, but still there's a young, youthful culture there that's still brilliant and smart and engineers. Hopefully that'll open up someday for everybody. I want to switch. We're going to come back to your family in a second, but as I know I have a limited time with you, what do you think of El Salvador? I know that I presume you're a fan of Bitcoin. Let's get that clear first.
Yes, and it actually goes back to me being from Iran.
What do you like about Bitcoin? What's the reason you're a fan?
So the reason why, so the funny thing is I actually heard about Bitcoin back in 2011. A buddy of mine told me, hey, go invest in Bitcoin. I was like, no way, Jose, I'm not going to invest in it. But then later on, I went and learned about what it is. So my dad, before the Iranian Revolution, was the CEO of a successful company in Iran, and he had like 2,000 employees, and life was great. This is before I was born. And once the revolution happened, the government took over his company, all of his assets, seized his bank accounts, seized his machinery, everything. They went to zero. So I was learning about Bitcoin. I was researching about Bitcoin and learning how decentralized it is, which means that it doesn't belong to any government to take over. And I couldn't help but wonder that if Bitcoin existed back in the day and my dad had diversified even a tiny bit of his assets into something like Bitcoin that is decentralized, then he didn't have to go back and start from zero. So that is kind of, Bitcoin is my way of hedging against, again, like anything that could happen and go wrong in our world, because you can never be certain. Iran used to be a great empire that fell, and this can happen in any country. So the reason why I invest in Bitcoin, one of them is the decentralization. Another way that I look at it is that it is a value asset. It is, in my opinion, way more valuable than gold because it has a lot more brand recognition and is limited in inventory. There's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoins ever mined, whereas with gold, we never know how much is going to be around. So this immediately gives us a supply and demand advantage. So there are so many different reasons why I invest in Bitcoin, but I'm not just like a Bitcoin, I'm like only Bitcoin and nothing else.
Well, we've invested at BitNile. We're publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange. We invested about 180 million in Bitcoin miners. We're fastly becoming one of the top miners in the U.S. and I'm all about Bitcoin. We're going to cover that. Some of the people that are going to be at my conference will cover that. We're going to have actually a Bitcoin afternoon there. I'm a big fan. I own it myself, and I encourage everyone to do it. I'm curious about your thoughts about renewable energy, what El Salvador is doing. I really just wonder what you thought of that experiment. You being from a foreign country, kind of relating to El Salvador, trying to do their own thing. I'm just curious as to what your thoughts are.
So look, I mean, I don't really know what is going on in that country right now. But renewable energy, obviously one of the negative narratives that has always been around Bitcoin is that it consumes a lot of energy. And okay, attacking it from a renewable energy point of view, great, you can go ahead and do it. Now, if El Salvador is going to do good things or bad things with this feature, that is not something that I actually want to, or I'm an expert in. What I am an expert in is talking about why Bitcoin will have value in the future, regardless of what country is going to deal with it in what manner.
If you wanted someone to get involved in Bitcoin now and they read Cryptocurrency Investing for Dummies, what would be the first thing that they would learn from the book?
So the first thing that in all of my investment education, whether it's cryptocurrencies, whether it's stocks, or even investing in yourself, investing in your business, the first and foremost important step is understanding your risk tolerance, understanding where you stand financially, and then being intentional about where you want to go and focus on that, because there's so many different paths to wealth. There is so much noise that you can easily get absolutely overwhelmed and get completely burnt out and not get anywhere. So the way that you get clarity is first doing soul searching, not soul searching, but actually quantifying where exactly you stand financially. What is your risk tolerance? What do we mean by risk tolerance? Is your ability and your willingness to take a risk. When we talk about risk tolerance, we're not talking about, oh, I have a really high risk tolerance. I always go to Vegas and I gamble. No, that's not what we mean. We talk about what is your net worth? What is your cash flow situation? How much money is coming in? How much money is going out? How old are you? How many kids do you have? Where do you want to go? What is the purpose of your investing? Once you figure that out, then we get to the third component of risk tolerance, which is your confidence in the asset. And that is my goal with the cryptocurrency investing for dummies book, which is like, don't take my word for it. Right now, we just talked about how awesome Bitcoin is, but you need to have confidence in Bitcoin for you to not panic sell the next time there is a Bitcoin dip. And you're only going to gain that confidence if you actually go and like read the white paper. Like, what is even Bitcoin? Why are all these people talking about it? Once you're like 110% confident, only then and only then you're allowed to go and invest. Otherwise, you're just riding a hype and you are likely going to panic sell, lose all of your money, and then be bitter about investing.
You know, I thought about this question, and this question makes me sad. My mom didn't marry my biological father. I never knew him. She was married to my sister's father. They got a divorce. And it says, what financial advice do you give women who find themselves divorced with young children?
Oh, we have so many single moms in our community. And it is heartbreaking, like how much they have to actually go through
it's tough.
As a single mom, not knowing beforehand where they stand financially. But the good news is we have so many success stories within the single moms community. And the first step literally is understand your risk tolerance, increase your income through side hustles, and invest that money so that you compound. Like literally that is the component, how I built my wealth. If I could like shrink it down, and it's super simple, and simplicity is the key. Invest in yourself, acquire high income paying skills, increase your income, and then invest that income. And then the compounding is just going to make it that much more profound. Like the first $1 million for me was the hardest. It took me 10 years. Then after that, thanks to compounding, the next 10 million was literally within a year because I already had like everything figured out. So invest in yourself, increase your income, invest that money in the financial markets.
But you just talked for a second about side hustle. You mean increase your income. I mean, that's a big topic. For me, as I talk about, there's only 3 ways to make money: leverage people, leverage time, and leverage money, which is, a very specific thing. If you're a lawyer and you're hired, right? So you work for a wage, an hourly wage, there's only so much time you can do that. You can make a great living. You can make great daily bread, but if you're a lawyer, you better be buying some apartment buildings or something that can leverage people and leverage money, right? Because you buy the apartment building, you don't put up all the money, you borrow it, so you're leveraging the asset, et cetera. It's surprising to me how few people understand that they think, why aren't I rich because I'm going to become a doctor? But I know a lot of doctors that are like, did not become rich because they're doctors. They became rich because they work so much, they couldn't really spend their money. And then they put their money into things like real estate and Bitcoin, or they invested in their brother's businesses, or they invested in a startup that did really well. What do you cover in your courses that help people understand that? Because my problem is I meet so many people that think I got a great job and that's the ending. And really it's the beginning.
So 100%. So here's the thing. We live in a society, especially in American capitalistic countries, that rewards entrepreneurship. I called it side hustle because it's easier to kind of like if I tell a single mom, all right, you need to go and start your own business, they're going to get a panic attack. So I don't call it that, but that's exactly what I mean. A doctor can only become truly wealthy because he has a practice. The practice is going to allow him to have a ton of write-offs on the taxes. They can create a trust. Then he can go and invest that money in real estate. And that is the wealth ecosystem that we're talking about. He went and invested in himself. He acquired a skill that pays him some money, and then he went and invest that income. You need all three. So for me, I didn't become a doctor. I didn't make any money out of my engineering. What did I do? So did you know that there is 4 levels of value?
No.
So there's 4 levels of value in the marketplace. And you already know that because
Sure.
we already talked about the leveraging of the time, but this is how you can break it down. The first level is implementation, is when you put time over your muscle. So the hardest working people in the planet are the people who are at an implementation level, and they're also the lowest paying people. Think about housekeeping staff, janitors, truck drivers, construction workers. Why is that? Is because they are putting in a limited resource, which is your muscle, over time, which is, again, also limited in inventory, right? The second level of value in the marketplace is unification. We got managers. Now there are people who are managing the people at implementation, but there is still going to be a cap because time is limited. We don't have enough of it. You're not going to be able to scale. Now, the third and the fourth level are where fortunes are made. And that is number 3, the third level is communication. What is that? Is when you use your mouth to create wealth or mouth equivalents. We have salespeople, we have A-list actors, artists, all the people who are creating a message to move the masses, like what you're doing right now. You have the ability to collapse time because you're creating a message to move the masses. And this is going to remain in the podcast universe forever. And whether or not you're making money off of it, I know it's going to help me make money off of it. There's one of the reasons why I go on podcasts is because you're something unlimited over time. And the fourth level is actually imagination. So if you spend your time in the communication and imagination level, 80% of your time there, you are going to have no cap over your income. So if you're trying to create or invest in yourself to acquire a high income paying skill, what did I do? I invested in a teleprompter class, which enabled me to go and get a job as a reporter at the New York Stock Exchange after I got fired. And that opened doors. I went and wrote books. The books is now going into thousands of people, is opening doors for me. And then from there, I can increase my income. And then from there, I go ahead and invest that money. And that is how I've been compounding, creating this avalanche of generational wealth, which is pretty exciting.
It is. You're pretty active. I'm not gonna lie. How many kids do you have?
1.
Oh,
soon to be 2.
Soon to be 2?
Toddlers. Well, we'll see. We're planning on it, but
you're not expecting right now.
Not yet.
No.
But it's funny because my team is mainly women, and literally everybody around me right now is pregnant. So I'm like, okay, I need to give it some time because we need to take our turns with our maternity leave.
Wow, I have 4 kids, but I think I'm much older than you, so that's okay, right? My kids are 23, 22, and then I have twin boy girls that are 16.
Wow.
I'm curious about sort of what's next for you. Like you have a new book coming out, but what do you like? You said you want to educate 1 million women by 2025. I said you say 2025 or 2024?
So the goal is 2025. That's the deadline that we've set for ourselves. So it's interesting because I've actually had to go back to the basics, how clarity is super important. Having a focus is super important. I was kind of getting involved in way too many things that were getting me out of what I really wanted to do the most, which is the mission of our company, is the mission of the Invest Diva movement, which is to help at least 1 million moms take control of their financial future. So we have to be able to measure that. So it's interesting because just as we speak, in this week, we decided to let go of some of the projects that we've been like super passionate about working at the Invest Diva, working with some students at a higher level to help them create a business and increase their income and do these at a much higher level. But unfortunately, I've decided if I really want to achieve that goal, I need to spend my time more on the content creation side to reach that massive number. So we're actually eliminating some of the projects so that we can reach more people, have a bigger impact on more people, and at the same time not get overwhelmed, and also allowing myself to actually have another baby. So that is what's next for us.
I'm one of those people who knows what it means to be spread thin. When I bought the company, we had about $3.5 million in assets. I think we have somewhere in the neighborhood of $488 million now, and a couple of years, 4 years later. And I understand how you can spread yourself very, very, very thin. And sometimes we during COVID had some restaurants that we bankrupted because we realized there was no way we're going to get out of this mess. And it was the hardest thing ever because I think there was like 150 employees and it was really sad, but it was the best thing and saved the company. So sometimes if you've ever seen like, when they were leaving Vietnam and they couldn't save enough people, so they just pushed helicopters over. Nowadays it would be terrible, but they just push stuff off the ship to make room for people. Sometimes you got to shed old stuff or shed stuff that maybe is too ambitious to focus on the stuff you can do. We're going to put up all your contact information, but like if someone comes to Invest Diva, what should they expect? Like, do they sign up for the basic course first? Do they go to a webinar with you? How do they get indoctrinated into being part of what you're doing?
Yes, absolutely. The first thing you want to do is always for everybody to just go to investdiva.com/masterclass. Is this 90-minute masterclass? Our support team is going to be there to answer your questions in the chat box. And I'm going to walk you through the exact process of how I went from $0 to $1 million first through the investing method. And you're going to basically get everything that you need to get started with your journey of making your money work for you. We're going to give you a bunch of goodies. And from there, then you can decide whether, okay, you mastered investing. Now you want to go and increase your income. We have something for you guys as well to, if you're interested in starting a business, if you understand how important it is to have a business, to be able to take advantage of all the cool stuff that business owners can take advantage of, then that would be the second step. So the first step, absolutely, please go to investdiva.com/masterclass. Attend that masterclass tonight. Don't push it off. I know it's 90 minutes, but it's 90 minutes well spent. It's our most popular offer. And give it to your mom too, because your mom is going to need it.
Oh, wow. Okay. So they can just go to investdiva.com, take the masterclass, and then do you go speak anywhere? What kind of like, if they want to dig deeper, how do they see you? Do you do any sort of tours or things like that? Like some people do. What's your MO? Because you have a baby at home. I'm sure you're busy, but obviously you're talking to women, a lot of women who have the same issue. So how do they leverage and get to see you?
Absolutely. So my hangout station is on TikTok and Instagram, actually. Please don't follow my impersonators. There are thousands of impersonators all over the place that are scamming a lot of people. So if you're looking at me on checking me out on Instagram, just definitely only Invest Diva. That's it. I do not have any backup accounts on TikTok. I'm at Kiana Danial. But with the tours and everything, we're mainly doing things online because I am a stay-at-home mom. So anything that enables me to do things virtually like this, we're going to potentially be on The View soon and things like that. But our tours, our live events right now is only for our higher level students.
No, I get
We're
that.
We're actually going to have a award ceremony for our students who have achieved 100K portfolio and $1 million portfolio. This is going to be in Florida soon, but it is nothing that like it's for everybody to come yet. Eventually, 5 years from now, in my private jet, we'll let you know. But for now, grab my books, go to investdiva.com and get yourself started.
Hey, I appreciate your time. I really do. You know, and I respect and told you we'd be done in 45 minutes or so. We're done now. But I would love to continue to chat with you. I followed you on Instagram. Everyone, make sure you follow her on Instagram. Make sure you follow her on Twitter. I've seen you on TikTok. Is it the same thing? Is it Invest Diva on TikTok?
It's at Kiana Danial on TikTok, and I'm also verified there. So if you see the blue check, you're on the money.
And go to Invest Diva /masterclass. I'm gonna, you know what I'm gonna do? I think it'll be fun. I'm gonna make my mom take your course. It'll be good for my mom, right? I'm not joking around. I founded a company called Alzheimer's Neuro, and my mom helped me and invested in it, and it went public. And on the first day it went public, I personally was worth about $2 billion. Maybe it's like $1.5 billion, $1.7 billion. And my mom had a lot of stock, and she's like, you had like 1 million shares. And I'm like, Mom, how you doing? She's like, well, I don't know what to do with this. I'm like, you can't sell it. You got to hold on to it for 6 months. She probably wouldn't appreciate me saying that anyways. But I noticed afterwards, she's like, okay, stock's down. What do I do? I'm like, I don't know. I can't tell you what to do. I'm the largest shareholder. Do whatever you want. And I really do think that what you're doing for women, for families is great. And hopefully I can help send more people your way. Kiana, thanks so much for your time. Have a good weekend, and we'll catch up again soon, okay?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is fun.
Yeah, you are fun. Take care. Be well.
You know, I'm going to explain to you real quick.
Can you walk in?
But don't be rolling out. There's a reason for it.
So I did get that right. I did get that right.
Yeah, you got it right.